Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Wait, what? 2 days of water? That's it? I was probably capped though, right? That's probably why. Yeah, okay, I was capped. You guys holding out on me? You absolute fiends. Who's a good boy? Alright. What do we have? We have the Scar, we have a shotgun. Eh, we can run with this. We'll see how it goes. Hey, Michael. Hey, why? Alright, we have our Scar, we have our shotgun. Let's get some ammo and some, meds. Get some meds. Heisenberg. That's probably good. Let's do Swamp Unsilenced. Hey, Alex. Scav scraps. Sure. Let's not forget our drills either. Oh yeah, I did. I did catch the Q&A. For those unaware, they did post the Q&A. It's in the answers channel in Discord. It can be hard to find, but if you look, you can find it. It's not the easiest thing to find in the world. Alright, we're good here, we're good here. Frozen Swamp. It's the pretty, like, boilerplate Q&A that they normally do. The E-Nugget stuff was cool, but, like, other than that, it's just kind of... We're working on stuff, hope to have it out to you soon. And then, like, you know, them, like, talking about features that might be included in the future in regards to, like, people suggesting things.
I hate the surface.
If you've seen one Q&A, it is the same thing as the rest of the Q&As for the most part.
Everyone for themselves.
Hey, Sid. So we have both the Scav scraps and then we have data waves, I believe. Let's it up this way. Hey, Duffs. How's it going? I wonder if they should respond to drills. Like, definitely they shouldn't, like, aggro to you from drills, but they should definitely, like, investigate the area from drills, it feels like. You heard nothing. Nothing's going on. Okay, they no.
Oh, huh? I think they spotted us. That's it for us.
No. It's just the wind. Is he gonna win that fight? Oh no, alright, I jinxed him. You got stun locked. he okay? I wonder why this happens. It's like the animation's still playing. The little like jiggly motions on the corpse. On the cyborgs it looks cool, but on the other guys it just looks kind of off-putting. Man, that black hole void texture on the back of Masked Man's real distracted. I don't think that's the case, Michael. I can't really say one way or the other. It just seems that one of the parts of the body is still just like playing animations that shouldn't be playing. It does seem like the corp like the torso gets stuck midair too. Doesn't lie flat sometimes. It's got like a weird collision box. Do I hear a chopper? Yep, I hear a chopper. I just barely heard it, but it's there. Oh god. Stop being dragged to the plane. Please. Oh, I'm gonna stop looking at the chopper. It does make me kind of respect the fact, though, that, like, thinking about it, I imagine choppers had to be really fucking hard to program for AI. They probably take a lot of fucking work to make them look good.
I think they spotted us. Trying to carefully.
Isn't there usually 3 around here? Where's the 3rd one? No. Good there. Go ahead and call the elevator up. It'd be cool if they could actually use elevators too. Like, it's probably not worth the effort, but like it would be cool to see like squads go up and down the elevator. It'd be a good way of doing reinforcements too underground, right? Hey, Psycho. Like, naturally you wouldn't want to overdo it because otherwise you just get camped spawns, but like having some areas be, or like, so maybe as opposed to, so like you have a respawn area underground, right? And the area immediately outside of the elevator is like not an area you can normally go to, but you can still kind of see and hear the elevator operating. So it kind of grounds the reinforcements. Yeah, but it's not as like as simple as like essentially like the base movement system in Unreal plus just animations, right? It does require some actual like some work on that level. I think you're thinking about an escalator, Duffs. It's more of like areas like cemetery, right, or other underground areas they could possibly include in the future of just like, or even like maybe areas like downtown too, right? And it's just a really convenient off map area. Not even off map, but like it's a really easy area for you to like close the doors and spawn units. It's a pretty common trope too, right? Where you'll usually have respawn, stay placed, and elevators for that reason. It's also, Michael, the rules too of like how you would see a helicopter normally move, I would say too. You wouldn't see it like always in the sense of you would have attack runs, right? And movement runs where you would go forward and turn around. You wouldn't necessarily just like go in reverse in the air.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
All right. I don't know if I have. Let me go down the stairs. I don't like the stairs, but at the same time, I don't know if I have it yet. And hitting the staircase is a good way of knowing if I have it or not. Or rather, like, if I don't have it at the staircase, I was never going to get it in the first place. The staircase of doom.
Whittle them down and we can break out. Good thing I brought my buddy.
Yeah, we're good there. Hey, now who's shooting me? Who was that? Oh, they're up there. Maybe let's not fuck with you. Is that downstairs? No, hey, stop it.
Calculations.
I mean, you can definitely say that it's not done properly too, but it's not just like simple math also. Like a lot of it's simple math, but I think it's a bit more nuanced to that, right?
Full of bad people.
Hey, maybe I'll fuck with it. I'll see what I'll get back to you on Monday and let you know the steps I would have to take to actually make that work. I'll play around with it in Unreal Engine 5. I'll have to probably find a chopper asset to use. I don't have one, but I'll let you know if I can make a properly moving chopper in UE5 easily. Like right now, it just seems to be like a mesh moving through space via just like transforms. No, I'm curious. I'm curious what the steps it would take to actually make it look right, if at all. If I can even accomplish that. Hey, Nevius, buffed? I mean, no, I mean, it's not that I don't believe you, Michael. It's more in the sense of just like, it could be that their implementation they want to use is not that simple, right? I don't know. It's not that I don't believe you, but there might just be more nuance to it. Like, if it was that easy, why is it not here yet, essentially, right? Because it is so off-putting. Like, if it required almost no effort to implement, right? Just some simple math and just plug it in, you're good. Why is it even the way that it is currently? But yeah, Nevius, when you like differ, like, in regards to buffing medium mechs, it's hard because on like one aspect too, right? Like, do you really want to get randomly one shot sometimes by a medium mech? But in regards to, really?
Keep together.
Really? Anyway. Like, are medium mechs too easy to take down right now as a scav? I mean, probably, yeah. But is that more just based on the AI or opposed to the lethality? I do think they lose their primary gun too quickly. Like, one grenade launcher shot, like, will usually knock out their main gun. And other than that, right, like, I would say a lot of it is more based on the problems of the AI as opposed to, like, necessarily its poor lethality. Because it has such an issue traversing its main gun sometimes, it can't really ever target you that well, right? Like, for example, say if the AI for the medium mech was in a spot where I felt like it would be adequate, it definitely feels like if you shot it once with a grenade launcher, it would turn around and light you the fuck up. But it doesn't really do that right now. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's a buff per se, but just more of a fixing of its AI and targeting to actually be the appropriate lethality for what it has. It like both the mechs just have massive issues bringing their guns to bear, right? Even when shooting other targets like tanks or their mechs, they just have a lot of issues shooting each other. And in a sense, it may just be the animations or just like some weird criteria they have where they can't move their guns that much.
Don't miss. Make every shot count.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's my problem, Michael, is it's that easy, why is it not there yet? It, like, maybe points to some grander design or idea they have, or implementation. It's the same thing, for example, with the bombers, right? The bombers don't look bad, but there's definitely moments where you look at the bombers, like, that's not how things fly.
Again. Some, at least.
Oh, so if it's for sure, yeah, like, there's definitely some, like, dissonance with the invincible units and not dying. Did I not do data waves? And I really? Wait, what? Did I really just go through all of the motions and did none of these? Genuinely? You're telling me I walked, I mean, I believe it. I'm gonna trust the game for right now because like I'm a little tired, so my memory is ever so slightly hazy. But are you telling me that I walked past all of these and didn't do any of them? Wow. Alright, well I guess we run it back. Let's use a different spawn this time. Yeah, the Orgamech being invincible, Nevius, is definitely an element of, like, it's some, like, work in progress design, right? Because it doesn't make any sense why the Orgamech's invincible. It just points to some overall reason why they're not killable yet. Some, once again, grander design.
Still alive.
I think, Michael, too, like, there's plenty of... I'm sure there's plenty of tutorials or things you can kind of use as inspiration for that. Like, if the reason was knowledge alone, I feel like there's definitely ways of bridging that gap.
I've been waiting for this.
Like, there's gotta be, like, a UE4 or UE5 tutorial, and, like, or just general programming tutorial on how to do helicopters. So like it feels like it has to be something more than that, right? Oh, grenade launcher. Okay, we did it. Well, yeah, they're unkillables in the sense that you can't kill them conventionally now. Like, remember, before the co-op patch, right, there was no way of killing them reasonably. So yeah, there's now a railgun. And even though they specify with the railgun, right, you're not killing them, you're just disabling them. They're like, there's some clear distinction or line they don't want to cross, right, where they don't want to say you're killing them. Even with the railgun, you were just disabling them. And by doing so, they drop you a loot box. So there is some like clear grand design here, right, where they do not want those units to be killable. Yeah, so if I'd be... It's a lot, right? I definitely... I'm a broken record. I definitely think they should have started smaller and going bigger as opposed to starting out with a vast array of weapons and ammunition types. It's much easier to scale up a system like that as opposed to build it very fleshed out at the start, right? Like having like 10 guns with armor is a lot easier than doing, you know, 43 or how many guns we have right now with armor. Yeah, there would. I mean, they're disabled as long as you're on the map, but you're like there is a clear line that they made that you are not killing them. Like, fluff-wise, they have made it very clear that like even when you are disabling them, you are not killing them. So there is some design choice there. Yeah, functionally they are dead, canonically they are not, essentially, right? We good? We good. Well, keep in mind, right, like all of the unkillable units are like special units, right? And Europa doesn't really have any right now. Like all of Europa's units are conventional units, right, that are kind of modular. Like Toothy, Mother of Courage, Orgamex, those are all like very... My fucking god, Soldier Factory. Let me up. Leave me alone. Hey, Cronin. Are we good? Can I fucking breathe? Let me up. Yeah, that's fair, like, right, it's like to each their own, but like for whatever reason, right, they chose those 4 units as like that they for some reason draw some clear line in regards to like being killable or unkillable. Like I said, it's a design choice, right? There is something that we're probably not seeing yet in regards to why they're unkillable, and like it could be just too that they're missing functionality, right? Like they don't want to include the fact that they're killable because they don't have armor yet in the game, and they shouldn't be killable by small arms.
Time to drive you back.
Or rather, like, keep in mind this way too, right? You, generally speaking, don't want to take away functionality from the player. You want to grant them more functionality. People don't like, and like, that's not to say you never nerf, but like, people react poorly to nerfs as opposed to buffs, right? And it's much easier to start small in regards to like what you allow the player to do and grant them more than take things away. So say, for example, right, if they gave you the ability to kill Mother Courages and Toothies right now, and it was really easy to do so, say, for example, like later on when we actually get progression, grenade launchers are harder to get, right? And so in a way, like, it makes Toothy and all those feel worse. Or it's like, say, for example, they add armor in too, right? And so, like, your regular guns that you normally would have are not good for just Toothy anymore. They're gonna be like, some people will decry nerfs, right? I used to be able to kill Mother Courage with a grenade launcher in, you know, 10 rounds, but now with armor I can't do anything. How dare you nerf the player? And naturally that's hyperbole, right? No one would actually say that factually, but like, that is an element where people would take that conversation to without saying it. People would call that a nerf. You see nothing. Well, yeah, you have to keep in mind though too, right? Like, we're scavs. Remember the core premise of like the marketing material, right? Where like one of the key lines says is like every bullet matters. The fact that we have loads of ammunition and like high quality guns is probably not gonna always be the case. And even then, we might be using FMJ, right? We're not using armor piercing. And so when they have like high tech durable armor, right? Even if it's, you know, doesn't look that nice, our conventional small arms might not be able to do anything to it, right? The fact that we easily get grenade launchers might not be what it's supposed to be. Yeah, it was a bug before Pavlos. I thought they patched it out, but like, I don't bother with bugs like that. Like, certainly feel free to do it if you want to, but I just never bother with bugs like that because they're not intended. I mean, it's not even McGuffinite, for example, too, right? Like, it's one point, like, the 36Ms is one thing too, but like we probably might not get 36Ms or like grenade launchers on a regular basis, right? So when we're stuck to like just 5.5, like if we're stuck to 50 BMG as like our most conventional high tier round or biggest caliber round, like there's plenty of like armor that can stop that and not be unwieldy, right? What do you mean, Cronin? Can you elaborate, Cronin? I'm not sure if I follow. Are you saying the game's too easy, or are we saying we think the game's too easy, or like what's going on with that? Well, I mean, I don't mind grenade launchers, but in the sense of like, the problem is grenade launchers right now function as like anti-tank. It's more in the sense of like your weapons for dealing with armor, like especially high tier armor, should be few and far between, right?
Let's go.
All right, there we go. I mean, Cronin, on a certain level, you have to understand a few things too, right? First and foremost, we probably both have a lot. I mean, I can speak for myself, right? I have a lot of hours in this game, right? I am very familiar with the movement in the game, how units respond for the most part, how to shoot, and mechanically, I understand all of the elements of the game to a pretty good degree. because I've played it so much. And then there's the other thing too, right, where my main hobby is playing games. I love games. I've been playing games my entire life. So like, I can pick up mechanics in games that are pretty quickly, right? Like, I don't want to say like I'm the best at it because that'd be presumptuous, but like I am pretty good at picking up ideas in games to such a degree where like I have played so many games in my life, and I've played a lot of indie games too, to the point where like my feedback coming like to developers in regards to experiences for new players has to be taken with a massive grain of salt, because I will pick up on things in games a lot quicker than others. Like, I will understand your mechanics a lot quicker than should be, right? There is a reason why some companies, like game companies, will go out of their way to hire people who are like not well versed in their games or games in general, so they can understand how the user experience is and how it feels to someone who's completely ignorant. And when you get to a much more casual gaming audience, like that's the general trend, right? Like it depends on how you want to balance your game, but like on a certain level, you shouldn't balance toward us, right? And naturally the downside is, right, is like you make the games easy for us, but that's perfectly fine, right? Like you're not trying to cater to the person who plays your game for 400 hours, right? Get out of here. Hold on. And banned. Yeah, it's easy to forget you're just good at being a murder hobo. I mean, if you're gonna offer me these three, why not? Yeah, like there is ways of like making it harder too, right? With difficulty levels and so on and so forth. And like you can do game design to make optional difficulties higher, right? Like you can put in things for like chase difficulties for players. That there's nothing wrong with that, right? But like the core base of the game should be accessible to some degree. There are games like Tarkov, right? Dad's be like, stop mentioning Tarkov. I can't help it. And to be fair, neither can the devs, right? Because that is the influence for the game. Even in the Q&A recently, they mentioned Tarkov again too, right? You can't fault me for mentioning Tarkov, the baby of extraction shooters, or I guess that not the baby, the father. Like Tarkov does have a lot of friction, but like when you play Tarkov, right, there is a general experience in Tarkov, and you can't control sometimes the difficulty when it comes up to you. Sometimes, like in regards to PvP, right, you don't know if you're gonna get a Chad or a rat or like anything like that. But like the general experience for Tarkov is pretty hard, and that's part of like its grittiness, right, or its appeal. And that's certainly a design choice if you want to lean into that. But you should just be at least very mindful of when you're pointing your game to a particular crowd. Hell, and I would even say this too, right? There is almost, if you make your game only for the elites of the elite, you will find yourself in like this weird negative feedback loop, right? As the elites begin to funnel, like as the elites play against other elites and like the more casual audience leaves your game, those elites will start fighting against each other, right? And the less elite of those elites will start weeding themselves out. And you'll always retain a bit of them, but like it's this atrophy, right? If you only cater to the highest common denominator, you will eventually weed out all of the lower ones. And as you weed them out, like it will get to the higher and higher denominators, right? Until you only have the highest left. I wouldn't even say that like that's how Tarkov can feel. I would say like it has elements of that. They're not like catering only to the highest denominator, but like there is a design choice, right, where they I wouldn't it's hard to say it's a design choice or just by accident with Tarkov, but like they do this sort of, I'll say this, for males between the 18 and 24 age bracket, myself included, right? There is always this like mil-simi sort of hardcore phase we go through. This is a vast generalization, so if it didn't apply to you, that's perfectly fair. It's a generalization for a reason. But like, there was a period where I was into mil-sims. Like, for me, it was Arma at the time, but like, now it was Squad, and then it was Tarkov. Like, it's moved to different games as it progressed, right? But like, there is this period where like, for some reason, we enjoy this kind of hardcore punishing sort of like mil-simi game, right? And Tarkov fits that perfectly. Hey guys, it's the false prophet. E-Nuggets, it's the most recent Q&A. You have to go to the Discord to find it. It's in the answers thread. It's a real pain to find. But on the Discord, there's an answers thread, and then you'll find the Q&A in there. If someone has a link, they can post it. Actually, it might delete it instantly in chat, unfortunately. But E-Nuggets are apparently like, you know, ingestible flash memory, right? Wait, so I had kill the commander, kill the assaulters, and then one other quest. Weapon attack. Now, unfortunately, with Rakhang being here, there he is. I think that was him. It was either that or a pilot, or what's called him. I think that was him. Oh, is Rakhang already dead? I think Rakhang's already dead. It's a medium mech, right? I think. Those are medium mechs. Yeah, Rakhang's already fucking dead. Hey. I mean, is it really heresy though? Who's shooting me? Why is it heresy? So yeah, going on E-Nuggets more. So E-Nuggets are apparently like ingestible flash media. Essentially, the way it made it sound like it's almost like it's like junk food for your mind, where you kind of consume memories, and like sometimes those memories can be that of like hallucinogenics. Not flash games, like flash, like you consume. It's as opposed to like. Imagine this, right? If you condense your memories to storage, right? Like say, for example, if you make our minds the equivalent of storage in like, say, bytes, right? I think we have petabytes of memory, essentially, or petabytes of storage, not memory. I guess you could call it memory considering it's quickly accessible, but anyway. Imagine if you like plucked out one of your, if you've ever seen Harry Potter, right? It's like the memory jar in Harry Potter, where like you basically store a memory, right? Or create a memory. And so you kind of ingest a memory and you get the feelings of that memory, like the effects of that memory. And say apparently like the memory could be under the effects of like hallucinogenics. Like say for example, you're like, you eat a disposable flash drive of someone like on drugs, and then you eventually have that effect. In a way, it's almost like an edible way of like, it's like edible memories, but you also include the fact of like the hormone production and it's like the serotonin of those memories, right? Yeah, it's very like cyberpunky, right? I think I did it like none of my quests, but whatever, close enough. For some reason, Blood, I think of cardboard. Like maybe slightly wiry cardboard. And maybe you put some flavoring on there to make it to go down better.
Good times.
Hey, Daniel. Oh for 3, we'll take it. So E-nuggets are... Hold on. Do I have one in my inventory? Let me go to vendor. So here we go, yeah, E-nuggets. So E-nuggets are like, so the question in the Q&A, right, was like, what are E-nuggets? There's like a slot for them in Grin helmets. Grin helmets being like the long, big helmets that some of the soldiers wear for Europa. And essentially, these are like flash, like, remember back in the day with consoles when you had like memory sticks, like the PS1 and the Dreamcast and so on and so forth, and you would plug them in to store essentially your save data, or in this case, memories. That's essentially what these are. These are like almost like junk food memories, right? They could be useful, but like they're like junk food memories. Like think for example, if you're on like a war front and you want a feeling of like happiness. You consume one of these that has a happiness memory inside of it, right? And it's not only happiness, it could be like things like tripping or things like drugs. Like you could have other memories in here too, right? And they're also apparently batteries too. Like they have their own battery source inside of them. Yeah. All right. Sure, elephant. No problem. All right, grenade launcher. Sure, why not? Probably gonna regret using this, but whatever. Grenade launcher, ammo, so much. So much ammo. Bring some drills. So we're gonna attack him to actually find the parts. I think they're like, Sophist, they're energy too, but like their memories and energy together. Like there is some caloric, like, or energy content in them, right? It's got electrolytes. It's what plants crave. Some good old electrolytes.
If you lose contact with the crew, stay there. We'll find you.
Yeah, they're talking about some like rock, paper, scissors system. So essentially, like they didn't elucidate on what the mechanic actually is, but like from the context of rock, paper, scissors, it seems like essentially in the place of like actual combat systems, which is fair. Like this is like going to like the level you would need would make it way too complex. So as opposed to this, what I'm essentially seeing here, right, is that they're, say for example, if a grabber walks up to a medium mech, behind the scenes what's going to happen is randomly they're going to choose A, B, or C, right? Rock, paper, scissors. And depending on the outcome of that rock, paper, scissors, they will do some set sync action together, right? So say for example, A, if like you know, B beats A, C beats B, like basically this rock, paper, scissors, right? And let's say for example, if B beats A and the grabber rolls A, the medium mech rolls B, the medium mech will do an execute on the grabber. And then if grabber rolls B and they roll A, vice versa. And then it's, say for example, if they roll C, or for example, like say they both roll the same thing, they bounce and do some like reset animation, right? So in the Q&A blood, they mentioned rock, paper, scissors in regards to having units interact, right? So that's what it feels like. It's not, they didn't, once again, they didn't elucidate or like basically say how they're going to do it, but like from the context, that sounds what it is. Like that's what it seemed like it is to me. And still there's plenty of like, there's still plenty of permutations if you have like A, B, and C between a bunch of units, but it does keep it contained, right? Like, if you keep yourself stuck to that, like, that setup, you know exactly how much development work per unit needs to happen, right? So in a way, like, once you get used to that system and you get caught up, you kind of know the development work per extra enemy, right? That you include. Oh my god, this reload speed. There's probably a factor of that too, right? But like, that actually like layer of complexity, right? Yeah, cows have collision now. They might have always had collision, but like you can shoot them too and they'll actually eat the projectiles. Probably when they figure out grenades, Michael. Yeah, well, new railgun can disable all the special units. They can't kill them, but they can effectively kill them.
Same incident.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know they apparently onboarded some more animators recently, or not recently. I don't know how recent it was, right? But they did mention like they got some new animators, so like, we should be seeing more and more. And then there's always catch up too, right? But like, I would say animation was one of their weak suits, so like them picking up on that is big, I think. But the catch up game is real, right? It does take time. Animation is one of those tasks, right? Where it's just bad or like great or poor job, no matter what, animation just takes fucking time. It is just like there's not really a way you can make animation faster. It is just the process of tweaking and working on it. It is by nature a slow process. And you can do, I mean, you can do mocap, right? But like that is such a level beyond. And even then, mocap doesn't really work all that well for like special units. Do I one-shot headshot you? I apparently don't. I might have missed too. It's hard to tell. Okay. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say it might kill me, but I am curious if I can sneak a grenade through here. All right, we're good. I was real scared where I was shooting was not gonna be where it actually hit. I was gonna blow the fuck up. Maybe at first, Pavlos, but like they definitely mentioned in the Q&A they have a few more now. At least it seems that way. I think they mentioned 2 in the Q&A. And like that is definitely the case too, right? When you're gonna have a bunch of different units, you kind of need that extra bandwidth. And a lot of guns too. Like, don't forget to having, this has always been my whole critique of guns, right? If you're gonna have this many guns in a game, it's gonna require a lot of animation work. No. Really? There we go. Yeah, you can transfer mocap too, but it isn't like there's, yeah, you can transfer mocap, you convert it, you can mess around with, like, you can use the mocap as a basis. It still requires the whole idea of having mocap. but it's because bandwidth, right? So like, think of it this way. A unit is composed of different things, right? You have the actual model, the mesh of the unit. Then you have the texture on top of that unit, right? Or the material, texture and material on top of the unit. And all of that is mainly the art team, right? Like, you'll have your 3D artist, you have your 2D artist, you have your other artists like that. Like, that is one element, right? But once you get to that, once you get past that point, now you have rigging. They might do rigging too, but like then you have animations. All the animations, and some animations you can just transfer over, some you can just, you know, reuse, but sometimes you have to make new animations too for those characters. And then you have to do it all up for that particular unit. And then you need to like actually program the unit to work properly and be part of the loot pool. It's just a lot of extra work to do per unit, and like if you have a shortcoming in one of those areas, it will backlog everything else. And they mentioned in the Q&A too, right? Like they have a lot of like meshes or objects or units in the background that are just so far removed from being included in the game because of bandwidth, right? They can only ever include so much, right? It's not about streamlining, right? It's because like there are some elements where like they can only go so fast, in the sense of, to streamline, it's not about streamlining, it's about more people, right? Like animation is a slow process. If you're it just takes time, right? There's not ways of making it faster. You have to throw more resources at it, right? And when you are resource constrained, it's not a question of adding more resources, just doing with what you have. Like, if they had infinite money, what they would do is they would hire more animators, they would hire more programmers. That would be the way how they get more done.
Shit.
There's not enough time in the day to just do more. It's not, like, don't get me wrong, there are definitely processes, like, to consider. You can make things more efficient, but at some point in time, too, it's just about raw output. And you need more people. No? Yeah, like, if you're trying to have very well done animations and synced up, like, animations for a character, it is a slow, tedious, time-consuming process. And keep in mind, too, like, without the technologies of, like, say, Nanite and Lumen, it would be even slower. For all of the shit they get, they do make developing shit like this faster. Like, we might only have, you know, 3 or 4 maps if they had to do baked lighting. Now, would baked lighting make it more accessible for more users? Yeah, probably. Or, sorry, let me rephrase. Yeah, definitely. But it slows down content so much. All right, where are your containers? Where did you go? My aim is flawless until I just whiff everything. Yeah, unfortunately, there's still elements I would like to not see on No HUD mode. Alright, that was that one. Where's the rest? What the hell? Maybe in the ground, perhaps? Michael, I think the problem right now, Michael, is that they essentially pushed it out like, so Unreal pushed it out too early, in the sense of Nanite is a technology. It feels like you need to be using it in its entirety, but they shipped it out and pushed it out before you could actually use it in its entirety, right? So for those unfamiliar, Nanite is essentially like dynamic LODs, level of detail. Essentially, as you get farther away from an object, it will become less and less detailed for performance, right? And as Unreal Engine 5 came out, right, only certain features or certain elements of a map actually utilize that feature set. And the problem is that feature does not usually play well with other conventional features. And so it essentially was flawed at the start, right? And we're now just kind of seeing the levels from Unreal Engine right now, 5.5 and so on, where you can kind of base your whole game off Nanite. And so I'm curious if that will solve the issues with that. It might not, but I'm not saying it will or will not. It might or it might not. So I'm curious if we're going to see implementations of Nanite in the future where, like, because they use Nanite wholeheartedly, will it actually work? It's a junky shortcut, but like it's a trade-off. Like, oh, everything is, right? Just like Lumen, it's a trade-off. Do you want to like watch an hour of your day go out the window as you compile a map? Or as you compile maps, or would you rather use Lumen? Would you rather spend a bunch of resources and time making sure you have a bunch of LODs for your things, or just use Nanite? It's trade-offs. Time or quality, right? Time or good enough. And like and keep in mind too, things like Stalker uses Nanite, right? And like the issue with Stalker is, remember, the development of Stalker 2 was during like when UE5 was coming out, right? Stalker has lots of flaws and it had lots of pop-in too, and I think did they convert from UE4 to UE5, or they were always on UE5? I can't remember. But like there is definitely growing pains with UE5. And Stalker 2 is a clear example of that, right? It was always UE5, okay. Essentially, I see two different things here. It's somewhat mute. It's kind of not important either way. The biggest thing is, right, is that like Unreal Engine 5 was being developed when not the entire feature set of Nanite was supported, right? You could only use it on the object and so on and so forth. And the prevailing thing is, right, is that we're saying that when you use Nanite, it needs to be all or none. Either use Nanite for everything or nothing at all. And because you couldn't do that with Stalker, it had issues. See, here's the problem with the surplus run. It more is just like saying to me, just don't shoot. And that's kind of what I get from the whole idea of a surplus run, is just don't use your guns. Why shoot when you can be stealth? Masked Man, I'm not sure if he does or not. Scav Girl certainly does. Michael, what will be next Friday? Next Friday for co-op runs. Yeah, we saw a few of them last stream, Nevius, these Scav Girls, right? Where it's just like, they're really cool. Like, would you really be wanting to do that in the front of an entire firing squad of people? Thanks, Survivor. I haven't worked on the script for the new one yet. I've been busy with a few things, IRL. But I'm thinking about this Sunday sitting down and starting to do the script, so like it'll be in the works soon. I'm kind of leaning to this Sunday in regards to getting the script going for the next video. It's the curse of just like having multiple hobbies. Or rather, multiple interests inside of that hobby. Just get pulled in so many different directions. Yeah, Cronin, like, it does seem like right now, they mentioned in a very early Q&A how, like, they don't, like, you have to have a gun right now in your hands because they don't have animations for, like, if you don't have a gun, you're T-posing, essentially. Or A-posing. Thanks, Hyper, appreciate it. Why not? Well, so Mario, like, in regards to going back to, like, Stalker 2 being, the, like, one of the title releases for, like, 1.0 of 5, you know, Unreal Engine 5, there is the marketing element of every company, and the marketing element always fucks over the engineering team. If the engineers were in charge of marketing their tool, like, their engine, they would never say half the fucking shit that gets said by marketers. Like, naturally, the engineers are going to tell you what the engine can do currently, and, like, the marketers are going to tell you what the engine can do in the future, or that they hope they can do in the future. Scav mules aren't really useful right now. They're kind of like halfway to getting reworked. So like right now the Scav mule has been like slightly changed where its logic is now just to follow you as opposed to take orders. And so it does what it always does, it just dies. Like, what I would, like, want the Scav mule to do... Okay, bear with me here. Now, this would require probably work on every fucking map, so it's probably never gonna happen. The innate problem with the Scav mule, right, is the Scav mule, in a way, just... It has an issue where if it moves about the map, you will always be babysitting it, right? You're always gonna be worried about it dying, and like you leave it somewhere it might die. What if the maps just had an alternate route for Scav mules, right? And you just like interacted with those routes, perhaps, and brought it along with you through those ways? And had it be sort of like this element of like caching resources as you're in raid. Now naturally the maps aren't really big enough to warrant that. You wouldn't really need a Scav mule. It would help early on, though. Essentially, right now, Scav mules feel like despite them following you, it feels like an escort quest because they're so vulnerable to dying, you kind of have to chaperone them. And also, like, too, in the sense of... If you're like, they push out Unreal Engine 5 calling it 1.0, but like one of their core features is not fully out yet. So like they're marketing it as 1.0, but it's really not early. It's really not 1.0. It's early access to the engine almost. Like if one of your key building blocks to the engine isn't even out yet, fully fledged, it's only partially out. Like, is that even 1.0? Not really. Yeah, Lil Papa, but like, here's the thing too, right? Imagine if you store something in a scav mule and come back. Like, I can see the hate posts already. I put some stuff in the scav mule, I come back and it's gone. What the fuck? Why is your game broken? It's very hard to like relay to the user that like that's what happened, right? Like, how do you inform the user that they're like, you bring a scav mule, you tuck it somewhere, right? And you come back to it and later half your shit is gone? Like, is this a bug or is this intended feature, right? Yeah, that's certainly one element, right? Just ignore the scav mules, make them not like aggro things.
Good times and bad.
Oh, so you 100%. It's very early access. It's insanely early access. Like if you're like at right now you're playing the game to support the developers and for the vibe. It's not really a game you pick up right now for the actual game experience outside of just like the vibe you play with it or have with it rather. Yeah, but like in a way, Little Papa too, right? Doesn't that make you also really want to feel like you're chaperoning or guarding the it definitely feels like there's a line there, Little Papa, where like you can have this sense of like this is obnoxious, right? I'm like halfway across the map and now my scav mule is apparently being stolen from. What the hell? I had to go guard it now. It creates this issue of like, you know, wanting to fucking chaperone a little robot across the map again. I can loot more, can I? Yeah, let's go back and loot some more. Soki, I don't really agree with that. The RTS is a dead game genre. Just like boomer shooters, it appeals to an older audience, and that's really about it. It appeals to nostalgia. And in a way, I would say making a compelling RTS game is actually harder. Hey, Reggie. I mean, a little pump, like, then you need to, like, add a caveat, too, where it's, like, you get a notification, but, like, oh, someone's stealing from your scav mule, but it's only food items, so you're okay, you can ignore that. It just, it seems like a lot. Seems like a lot of hoops. It's a lot of hoops and a lot of friction, and just, like, there's a reason why escort quests are frowned upon, right? Because, like, they're very hard to do right. And like, this is me also saying too, I'm not sure if there's really a good solution to the scav mule, right? Yeah. I mean, all of this goes back to the point, right, where I just don't know the exact aim they're going for because of the vagueness of the Q&As. So I'm like, like, all of these sound cool, but I'm just not sure the overall end goal they're shooting for, right? Because adding more, like, they mentioned more entered stuff coming, but, like, is that gonna involve more, like, meta systems too? Or just be, like, upgrade areas, right? I'll take 2 out of 3. So we played with this with surplus guns, and we just avoided everything. Yeah, but like without them going into detail of what their meta systems are, it's hard to know what they mean, right? Once they put out their first system, right, I'll have an idea, but like right now I don't have anything to base my idea on. Or like it's the same concept of like map reworks or map additions. Because we haven't seen one yet, I can't assume that they're going to happen, at least not in the way I conceptualize them. Nah, I'm good. I like having some degree of realism to my environments, Reggie. The surreal is fine in pieces, but not overbearing. They are a vibe, but not a place I'd like to live. I will say, like, that's one big feature that's perfectly fine too, is just making the pathfinding and the following of the Scav mule better. Hold on, let's go fuck around with the Scav mule. Look what you guys did. It's pretty beefy and pretty solid.
Life finds a way, even here.
Like, the first thing is right now is that, like, the first tension is how slow it is, right? Like, it can't be, like, the fact that it's this slow creates tension, right? Did it just teleport? Like, the fact that my regular walking speed is like outpacing it this quickly is already insane. Like, that's already a degree of tension, right? And like, it takes a while for it to follow me too. So if it the first thing they could do is probably make it faster and make it stick to easier, right? Like, maybe like this far away constantly trailing is good. So if I ignore the spider for a bit, right, and go try to play the map like I normally play it. I mean, we had that before game shift, right? We could tell it to be stationary before. That was its old feature set. I actually think it's probably better it can shoot, right? Where are you? Like, right now, I don't even know where it is right now. Could it not go up the stairway? Like, for the Scav mule to feel, like, useful, it can't have this level of friction to it. Where the fuck are you? Were you trying to go around? I don't think you can get up here. Yeah, I can't get up here. I mean, naturally, like, the Scav mule could have lots of functionality. Just is it warranted to have that much functionality too, right? Especially considering it's a tool someone who is playing solo would use in lieu of someone who's playing co-op, right? So it's like, if you're playing with a full co-op squad, right, you would never have a Scav mule. In a way, like, if you wanted to make the Scav mule a more important part of the game, you would need to have it removed of being a slot of a player, right? And that's perfectly fine. You can do that, but like that would be like step one of making the scav mule more important, is detaching it from being a player slot. But is the juice worth the squeeze, really? Where are you? Let me open this door for it. Maybe it needs a door to get open too. Where are you? Whatever. I opened the door for it. Maybe it can find its way in. What the hell? Is it just like stuck over there still? I can't even tell where it is if I put my HUD on. Oh. Well. Huh. It's a damn shame. I think it does. I think it moves from your, yeah, it moves from the mule to your inventory.
The city provides sustenance.
Well, like that's one part Survivor too, right? Is that the only key press right now to ever interact with the companion system is the B key, and so they've had to like shove a bunch of functionality into a single key press, which seems hard to do. I mean, they could do it too with a submenu. Like if you hold down B, it opens a submenu for you to use. But like until we see a submenu, yeah, it's rough. Hey Deadpool, how's it going? I'm doing well. Yeah, I mean, there's certain elements they could do to alleviate the issues of solo players, like having companions help you build a railgun. But yeah. I mean, to me, like, that'd be the only real way I'd be interested in actually using the scav mule as a way of making the earlier game a bit more easier, right? So as opposed to like having the scav mule follow me, I would just tell it to go hide somewhere, and I would bring it back stuff to store, or I would use it as a resupply point too, right? So like, when you're playing early game, right, and you only have that really early on shitty rig, you can only carry so much ammo and meds, and being able to use the scav mule as a way of bringing in extra meds and ammo would be really nice. So like, say for example, we're playing early game Scav Girl, and we have access to this rig and that's it. It would be really nice if we could bring extra meds and extra ammo on our scav mule, but when we actually bring a scav mule in, we can't give it any gear. So like, I have no way of giving it items over here, right? And so it's just a bit of friction. Or rather, like, it's the prime use case I would probably use a scav mule for is not there. All right. Playing some Gunhead. Pepper, why not? We don't need meds where we're going. 2 shotguns? 2 shotguns in the stairway, why not? Eh, 2's good enough. I haven't seen a night shift recently. I don't think we had one last stream either. Yeah, I've seen Arc Raiders, like the actual art style, it looks interesting. I'm curious if I see a beta for it, I might sign up for it. I'm hard pressed to see if I'm gonna. It looks really well done, but I'm not sure if it's gonna get over the hump for me. It just seems so hard for any like PvP extraction to get over that hump. I will say actually, so the former devs of Hell Let Loose, who sold out to, you know, make bank and make their own or I guess just make bank and get away from an old project, are making a game like that that's apparently more melee based. It looks interesting. Hold on, what's it called? 1 second. It's called Hunger. It looks interesting. And on that note, right, so the previous devs of Hell Let Loose, like, in a way, they show the pitfalls, kind of, sort of like, they're, generally speaking, I imagine this is the case for most people, right? You might enjoy something, but specifically, you probably don't want to spend years of your life on one single project. Like, 5 years is okay, but like once you start getting past 5 years, I feel like you get a bit tired of being on the exact same project. And I can't speak for them 100%, but it definitely gave me the vibe, right? Is like they were ready to move on to the next project, but like they had so much more to do on the game, and so they sold the game essentially, right, to a different developer, and so they could move on and do a game they wanted to do because they were kind of done with the project. And in a way, it shows to some degree it's not proper scope planning, but like it also shows too of like how you can get stuck into this cycle of like being stuck on this project. And it's applicable to this game in the sense of like when you get stuck on a project like this, right, there's definitely a turning point where it stops making you money and starts costing you money. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you're trying to like foster growth and growing an IP, it can be really dangerous not using that previous game as a stepping stone. If you look at bigger studios who were independent for the longest time, like say for example early game Blizzard, right? Blizzard just didn't keep making content for Warcraft 1, right? They Warcraft 1, 2, 3, you know, they explored the spaces inside their IP in different games. So it's important, I think, to some degree of like making sure you don't get stuck too much in a singular game. It's not to say to rush it, but to like, you know, definitely define your scope, stick that scope, and then move on. It's also just a weird thing too nowadays with like live service in regards, because like live services is like perpetual development cycle, right? Where they want you to keep you on the same game, keep you playing, and like having games like this where it's much more standalone's not the norm. Oh, for sure. Like you to my benefit and to my boon, I will be frankly honest about things. It doesn't always go over well with developers and marketers, though, as you can probably imagine. It's not that like you know, if I take money from them, I'll be silent. It's just this. There's always a degree of like people don't, and even myself included, right? When I was much younger, and like it's hard to take criticism without it feeling at least a little bit personal, right? Because naturally you get defensive, and it's just this is a normal response, right? It's really hard to like look at someone basically critiquing you and not get defensive about it. But now, yeah. I like, and it's definitely on the check. I can see Marathon, I can see Arc Raiders, and like I probably should eventually try and play them and give like, or at least think of feedback, or like, or not even think of feedback, but just see how they feel. I kind of imagine they're gonna feel the same way, where like they're both gonna be solid, they're both gonna have good aesthetics, but like ultimately they're gonna kind of fall flat on the whole like, is there anything here to keep my attention? And it really goes back to this question I raised for the developers, that they kind of didn't, I don't want to say Miles didn't answer it maliciously, but like I think he misunderstood the point I was trying to raise, right? In regards to motivating the player. In regards to like, Tarkov motivates you by providing you a long-term goal, like Kappa, right? But there's also like other ways of doing that where you motivate players. It's essentially like, how do you keep players retained inside of your game, right? How do you make them interested in your game for longer periods of time? And there's different ways of doing that, right? I don't drink, Mr. Nooks. In-game. Neither in-game, though. It's just like cigarettes, but slightly better. In a way, drinking is actually a debuff in the game, too. Like, it heals you, but because it heals you so slowly, and you can't take a medkit while you're drinking, or I guess you're under that buff, it's just the worst. Ah, no! Oh god, the fucking snipers. Leave Mr. Robot alone. It heals you, so it's a boon, but it sways your vision. But like, whenever you're under the effect of a medkit or a consumable like cigarettes or food or alcohol, you can't take another one. And you can't replace it with a better one, right? So say, for example, if you drink alcohol, during the entire effect of the healing, you can't take a medkit.
Safe and sound.
So say, for example, if you like start getting shot mid like drinking, you can't heal during that entire time. I need to find the exact way I worded it too. It's been a while. It was one of the older Q&As. Should I go find it? You know, I think it was like in the most recent one, right? Hold on. I'm actually curious. Now let me go find it. I think it was like the last Q&A Matt's posted. F. Yeah, I believe it was a 1 on 3.5.
It could be cool for sure. It could be cool for sure.
All right, so the way they phrased it, my question, right? What does endgame look like? Roguelite or more open-ended, relying upon the motivations of the player? And Miles rebutted with that. Hold on, let me close this so I can actually see your guys' chat. Hold on, let me open up this too. Sorry, Twitch chat got minimized. Where is everything? There we go. All right, we're back to normal, I think. Yeah, okay. So Miles rebutted with, if I recall correctly, I don't want to show the whole Q&A video because it's just distracting. With that, like, I hope it relies upon your, like, intrinsic motivations that want to play the game, right? And it's a bit misconstruing what I was kind of getting my point across here in the sense of, yeah, like, naturally you want the players to be motivated to play your game, right? But you have to provide the scaffolding to develop that motivation, right? Like, you don't necessarily put a carrot in front of them, but, like, you need to find ways of creating your systems where the player can find ways to motivate themselves inside of those systems, right? And, like, you know, for example, you can do things like difficulty, right? Or like endgame bosses and so on and so forth. Like, you can, like, do these lofty goals, right? Those are ways that, you know, players can find ways to motivate themselves. Or you can just have a really good experience too, right? And they just enjoy the experience. That's their motivation, is just kind of vibing with your game. There's lots of different ways of doing it. But I think it is important of, like, zooming out and kind of looking at how do you want to see your game motivate the player for longevity? And that's kind of how I feel like Marathon and that's how I feel like games like Arc Raiders and Marathon are going to fall short. They're going to be mechanically interesting, right? Like, or mechanically good, right? The gunplay, I imagine, the art in both of them is going to be good. They visually look good. They present to you compelling gameplay, but, like, once you like consume the material, there's nothing there keeping you there, right? It's superficial. And naturally, like, this is me just theory crafting what I feel like those games are gonna feel like. I do need to actually do my due diligence and probably give them some time of my life to see how they ultimately feel. But, like, just from the marketing of the games, right, and how they look and, like, the general vibe they give me, they do feel superficial. Let me do one scrap here real quick, and then we'll mess around with loadouts. There's no way I actually live long enough to actually use 800 rounds of Eppa, right? I mean, you'd be surprised, Deadpool, if 10K subs on YouTube does not give you as much traction as you probably think.
One day, they won't need us.
And to be perfectly honest, like, I'm not saying that you're saying that, but I am saying personally for me, oh man, I like bear with me here. I like The Office, but there are certain episodes where I cannot watch it. I can't do cringe. Like, whenever I see something cringe, I just can't engage in cringe media. And, like, when it comes to e-begging, that's exactly how I view e-begging, right? And I just fucking find it so cringy, and I just can't. I had to, like, bite my tongue to include, like, the whole, like, call to actions in my YouTube videos. Hello? Robots? Fellow robots? You cannot. They're part of sockets, so, like, you have your, yeah, like, they're just glued to you. Yeah, it's literally why, like, you never see me post my video anywhere. Like, if people want to post my video, that's perfectly fine, that's not cringe at all, but, like, self-posting, I can't fault for people for doing it too. I can't fault self-promotion. It just, for me personally, I hate it. I can't, if you self-promote, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just can't do it. Yeah, there is a no rig mod, by the way. If you want to have your rig off, it removes the rig from your, or rather, it hides the rig from your character, the no rig mod. But it's not like taking it off per se, it's just hiding it. Do you guys kind of feel like maybe they're not exploring the full depth of what Gunhead could be? Maybe Gunhead's Gunhead should be a bespoke Gunhead. What if Gunhead's gunhead should just be a 3.7 millimeter flak gun with 4 barrels? Flak head.
Threat removal imminent.
I want to turn Gunhead into an AA platform. I mean, no, 'cause I like, if infinite time, infinite money, right? I would love to see a system where, like, yeah, you like, it's much more time consuming to like loot and open your bag and use your bag and container, but like, just not enough time in the day. I do think a key element of extraction shooters, right, is like managing your inventory, almost like an ARPG. But like, there's only so much you can have in a game like this currently. And it definitely, I would say, is one of the smaller aspects of it. Like, I do enjoy, in like extraction shooters, right, managing inventories. Weirdly enough, like ARPGs not so much though. It feels kind of wrong. I brought like so much shotgun ammunition, but I'm not gonna use like any of it because I'm afraid of dying.
Dumping targets.
They're working on that. Most of the guns they touched up so far with animations are much slower now. Like, all of the LMGs are pretty slow now. Or actually, all of the LMGs are very slow now, actually. Which makes the rifles just even much more better. Just RNG. They spawn on Mesa, Scorched Enclave, Alpha Mausoleum, but it's just RNG. I think you'd be hard-pressed with making suicide drones in this game fun.
Delete them.
That doesn't sound, that sounds like tedium, not fun. I mean, naturally to each their own, but like, I do think the novelty of FPV drones would get very old very quickly. For all of those who want suicide bombers, go play go play Serious Sam and get back to me. Why won't you die? What the? All right, well, we did it. We won. No. See, Cronin. I think you guys are vastly overestimating how much fun suicide bombers are. There's a reason why, like, in Left 4 Dead, boomers were occasional. There's a reason why, like, Serious Sam doesn't get flack for, like, the suicide bomber levels. It's a lot. Like, there's novelty in them, but, like, in a game like this, I think finding a line where they're both practical to include, but also not obnoxious is very hard and not worth the effort to try to actually, like, balance. Let's get on the real issue, though. You guys are talking about, like, FPV drones and new units. I mean, let's talk about the real feature that's not added in yet that's an issue. This is the true issue. This is the actual thing that needs to be fixed. You might not be able to hear it. I'm hitting the E key right now. Unplayable. Who's a good boy? That's essentially what Nanite offers Survivor. So, like, back in the day, right, you couldn't design your map entirely out of objects because the amount of polygons, triangles you would have on your map would make performance awful and LOD untenable because of the amount of assets you would need and, like, overlapping and so on and so forth. That's what Nanite is. That's one of the selling points of Nanite, right? Is the ability to make levels entirely out of objects or props, or meshes, if you will. Like, if you go look at the Unreal 5 demo, hold on. Where are you? Let me find a picture of this. Hold on, sorry. UE5 demo. This will probably work. All right. So, like, oh, come back. So, like, this right here, thanks, Michael. Like, traditionally, this would be like you modeling this out of, like, clay, but, like, essentially what they're doing is they're basically using things like mega scans or essentially scanned terrain in the real world, and then importing them into a mesh or essentially that, and then putting them in the game, and then overlapping them as a way of making terrain, right? Like, that's how you get this much fidelity on, you know, individual objects, is by doing that. And, like, you couldn't do that before because the amount of triangles you would have would murder you. And, like, that's the selling point of Nanite. The marketing pitch of Nanite, right, is because it's dynamic LOD, level of detail, and it scales back the number of triangles being used and rendered on these, you know, these landscapes. You can actually now feasibly do that. That's the marketing pitch. Now, does it work? That's per each developer, I guess, in person to decide. In essence, it does work, right? But, like, it's got plenty of issues too. But yeah, like, you can essentially design your maps now as opposed to, like, out of, like, having to have, you know, what's the right word for this? Like, walls and blocks. It's just having props everywhere. Yeah, like most things, Michael, it's true with an asterisk mark, right? It's generally true, but, like, it has a bunch of issues where, like, yeah, naturally they don't mention that. No, don't worry, Mr. Nooks, I do that all the time. Like, it's true with nuance behind it, right? It's true with an asterisk. All right, we're good there. I'm not killing Red Baron. The way I'll generally equate it to, it's if you're from. Does anyone remember Crisis? Does anyone remember launch Crisis with CryEngine? Does anyone remember how unplayable that fucking engine was? I remember like trying to play Crisis a couple years after Crisis came out, and still my rig was like still too shit to play it. Like, think of UE5 kind of like CryEngine in Crisis. And like, keep in mind, there are plenty of games now that are made with CryEngine, right? And granted, it's not the same CryEngine as it was before. It's so far past that, but like, it takes time for technology that pushes things forward for everything to catch up. Oh, hey, Night Shift.
Not dead yet.
Think of Windows 2, right? Michael, remember, we're referring to back when it came out, not currently, but when it came out. Crisis at launch had lots of issues. But no, like, there's plenty of instances of CryEngine being used now. For example, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Great game, looks great, CryEngine. It's like any new technology, right? It takes time to iterate and develop. And like, just like Windows 2, right? Windows XP, then ME, then 7 and 8, and so on and so forth. Like, in a way, like, they pushed the envelope with one version of Windows and then play catch up on the next for a much polished experience, right?
Don't get boxed in. Spread out.
Were they Lumberyard before too? Star Citizen's its own debacle. Yeah, exactly too, right? There's always gonna be that case too for specialized engines. Like, for example, trying to try to do that on UE5 would probably not work. But like, when you have like a very specific item in mind for your game, maybe you might need a custom engine. Fucking cows, man. I enjoy it. It's got plenty of issues, right? Like, I'll critique it all day, but like, it does provide something there's nothing really else in the market for. Now, is it abysmal it's taken $800 million and this many years? Yeah. But that's just kind of what you get with Chris Roberts. The king of scope creep. These goddamn cows. Oh, exactly, Michael. Like, that's it. It's exactly kind of the cycle, right? Of like, yeah, like they release a good system, then the next system they overstretch themselves, and then the next time they pull back. Just this constant cycle with Windows. But like, that's true for a lot of things too, right? Like, you can say that UE5 is overambitious in regards to what it's trying to do, but it being overambitious kind of in a way lets the next version of UE, or just lets later iterations of 5 actually play catch up, and then finally kind of, hopefully, like lock it down. I mean, I'm not surprised, Michael. But like, here's the thing. On one side, like, yeah, it's sad a game gets canceled. On the other side, like, am I really that surprised it got canceled? No. Like, Titanfall is a niche game, right? It can't really afford AAA budgets. Here you go. Like, I don't know the I don't think they're even public, right? We don't know the exact details of Titanfall 2's sales, but like, if it wasn't for Apex Legends making them fuck tons of money, I'm sure Titanfall would never be in consideration for being made. Titanfall 2 is an amazing game, but it did not sell very well. If my understanding was correct. And like, here's the thing, I liked Titanfall 2 for its campaign, but its campaign was like 5 hours. And its PvP was like that of, you know, get good or it's gonna be fucking miserable. I don't know, I have a cow video. I can't remember what type of cow actually say it is, but it's definitely like a medium to smaller cow that's probably used for meat. Because the balloons are not big enough to carry cows, to be quite frank. Like, yeah, if you have infinite time and money, making an engine for your game is always a better approach, because the engine can be tuned to exactly what you need to do. But yeah, it's never reasonable, right? It's very rarely ever worth the time and money to actually do that. Mainly the time, and the money, but time in a way is money for development too. Oh, maybe EA sees the writing on the wall though. Honestly, if Titanfall 2 or Titanfall New was supposed to be an extraction shooter, no, go away. Close the door, close the door. Back, you feeds. Back. So, it's important, right? Because I'm going to mention this from a business perspective, right? Like a suit perspective. If I was a business person and in charge of making EA money, if I'm in charge of making EA monkeys, I would unfortunately, like, I would look at Titanfall Extraction Shooter and be like, I would see Marathon, I would see the reception of Marathon, I would see, you know, all of the extraction shooters coming out and be like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking go ahead and stop this from, like, costing us more money. It is so saturated now, and you're not on the market yet. You have to rely upon your IP doing a lot. And there's already a mech one too, right? Like, if your pitch was mechs, I think, who is it? The one who does World of Tanks is doing one too? That's a mech one? Like, yeah. No, I'm sorry, but unfortunately, I never want to let anyone lose their jobs, but if I'm a suit at EA, I'm like, yeah, this has to go. Like, there is no way we can enter this super saturated market late in this kind of genre cycle and expect to do well. Especially considering there's already people within our niche of, like, mechs, right? Well, like, here's the thing though too, right? Like, the whole idea of Titanfall extraction shooter doesn't really even seem from a novel perspective, right? Like, it doesn't seem like cool from a novel perspective either. It's not like some cool new I should have played Mask Man. My only regret. Where was I? Yeah, I can't really, it's not novel, right? Insertion shooter? What the fuck? Game shift. In this theoretical business, right? How are we looking for resources? Because that kind of informs the decision a lot. Hey, Maverick. So when you say insertion shooter, I have no idea what you mean. Because all my mind goes to, there was a really cool fucking map in Counter-Strike Go that was during some of its operations, and it was a hostage map called Insertion, and it was really cool because as opposed to a conventional map in Counter-Strike where you spawn at one side and go in from that one side always, it actually had the counter turrets spawn from 4 different points they could choose, hence why it was called Insertion. It was super cool of a map. That map was so fucking awesome. But game shift, like the question like really becomes like, yeah, resources, right? What do I have in terms of resources? Because that's going to inform the choice of game, right? Or what genre, right? Ladder climbing simulator. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, you go to, right? Because like the weird conversations like this are how you kind of like come up with new genres. Like, remember, like think of Dota 2, right? Like Dota 2 and like Dota and then Tarkov, they weren't like necessarily like mechanically different from other games on a very microscopic level, but like it was on a grand of it's how they use those systems on a grand scale of creating the genre, right? It wasn't just like if you just look at Tarkov, right, it looks like a mil sim shooter, right? But it was everything on top of that mil sim shooter that made it a new genre. And same thing with like with Dota, right? Dota was just an RTS with hero units, but it was how they used those units, those mechanisms inside of that on a more grand scale that actually made a new genre, right? So, like, it's sort of like, yeah, looking in regards to when you're making a new genre, it's not about doing everything from the ground up. It's just finding something you want to portray in a different way. It's why, for example, I think there's plenty of space to explore in this genre of extraction shooter, because it's really about how you package up the systems you layer upon your base game, right? There's these overall themes that kind of are in extraction shooters, like, you know, weapon customization, kind of a degree of friction in the game in regards to how it plays, it being difficult. But like that doesn't necessarily need to define all of the elements of the game itself. It doesn't have to be a Tarkov clone, for example. It can go explore different meta systems, right? Or like an overlay, right? What map? I haven't done cemetery yet, right? Sure, let's do cemetery. And it's less about, I would say, finding some cool words you can put together. I know you're joking, ego, but like, I go. It's more about just like figuring out something you want to accomplish in regards to your game and then like leaning into that, right? and it can be like like a feeling you want to convey, or for example, just some cool mechanics you want to see work together. What lore question would I like to ask? Why cow? How now, why cow? Why cow fly? I mean, I did ask the size question, but that's not really a lore question. That's more of just like a map question. But no, why cow? Why cow? Why no chicken? I imagine the answer is going to be Apocalypse Now reference. But
I hate the surface.
they delayed it? Didn't they just announce it was going to be in May? No idea, Ragey. I actually think they should probably hold off for a bit. If they do a new character, it's going to have to be a character similar to one of the ones we already have, at least in regards to rig and animations, right? Like they can definitely do that, but like I think they are certainly realizing their pain in regards to all of the units that can I lock it in. No, no. I'm sorry.
This is it. We decide what happens next.
No. Hey, gimme. We good? Okay. Yeah, I've heard good things about 33. Looking at it, I'm not sure if I'm in love with it, mainly because of the art style doesn't really I've never really been a fan of like the J or KRPG art style, and it generally puts me off of a game. And it's not even it's not purely the art style too, it's how they do the mechanics of their game that puts me off also. But I can generally, the general trend, right, is naturally if I see a like K or JRPG art style, mechanically they're usually going to have those elements too. And I usually just don't find myself very interested. Game shift. There is no way the cows we see are flying are for dairy. That is, pun intended, utterly absurd.
This gear is delicate. I need time to sort.
They are almost certainly the answer. I'm assuming they're going to say, right, it is a food incentive for doing operations, for doing objectives. Like, that's the boilerplate answer I kind of see with the cows, is the AIs for Europa use cows as an incentive to facilitate the doing of tasks. Game Shift, I have great news. They're definitely female cows. And like, there's plenty of instances too, right, where we actually do see like the carcasses of cows. I kind of like the Scar, I'm not gonna lie. At launch, the Scar was too anemic considering all of its drawbacks, but like now the Scar feels like the Scar right now feels like an appropriately weighted weapon considering the actual ire you draw from using it, right? Because you can't silence the Scar, it feels bad, but then you feel how powerful it is, and you're like, this is a fair trade-off. Exactly, Ego. there is nothing for them to eat. So they're probably lab grown, but when you're lab, like, it just, there's so many more efficient mediums. And considering gestation too, like, it is so easy to grow chickens. I have bad news. Just don't look up the mass cultivation of chickens. It is. If you are not okay with humans eating meat, looking up what we do to chickens is not gonna make you feel any better. Now, I'm not vegetarian or vegan, but like the shit we do with chickens, man, holy fuck. It is basically dystopian.
This is it. We decide what happens next.
Yeah, it's the chicken factories are basically like you can control C, control V a chicken factory into this game, and it would fit. Like, it lines up really well. What there is like some like there's a movie from like the 2000s, I think, right? It was like claymation. Was it? I don't think it wasn't claymation. It was like some kind of like very bespoke art style, right? Was it Chicken Run? I think it's Chicken Run, right? Good movie. I haven't seen it. I saw it when I was a kid, right? So it's been forever. But Chicken Run's a good movie. It's essentially that premise, right? Yeah, Chicken Run. Yeah, parody of The Great Escape, yeah. Hello, sir. Where are you going? I am 32. Old. Get out of here, you fiends. I've been called old since I was like 24. Fucking bunch of zoomers. When you get called old for like 10 years, you kind of lose its meaning. Ragey, go hang out with some zoomers then and get called old then. They'll call you old too. No, that's probably why, Blood Panda, you still believe in Rat King. False prophet. There is no correlation. I don't even watch TV. It's time for some sniping. Beautiful. The illusion of choice. Covers for the couch? That's... On one element, that's an old thing, but that's more of a cultural thing, I will say, actually. Like, I would say the covers on a couch is a much more cultural thing as opposed to, I would say, an age thing. Now, certainly, there are people who are older who will do couch covers, but I don't think it's mainly an age thing. So it doesn't feel that way. No, like, I honestly, I can't even, I'm not even a big fan of leather, to be honest. I actually prefer, I don't mind leather, but like, couch covers are just pure uncomfortable. For someone who likes lounging on a couch occasionally, like, couch covers just make you feel icky and sweaty, right? They literally, like, sure, they protect your furniture and make it look nice if you, but like, the whole ensemble is just wrong. And it just feels weird on skin too. It's just disgusting. Like, I'm sure it's a great way of preserving your furniture, but at the same time, is it worth the cost? Yeah, I don't mind decorations, but like, there's certainly a degree of like, I mean, naturally it's not easy to move. If you get to the point where you need to fill up your house full of furniture to make it not feel empty, maybe you just need a smaller house. Granted, I mean, I'm not saying moving's a real bitch, don't get me wrong. There we go. I definitely think that's a common trend in America, right? Where like sometimes we get told more is better, but sometimes more isn't just better. Empty space for having just empty space isn't kind of just vapid.
I hate the surface.
It's not even about minimalism either. Like, it's just about like it's this weird trope too in real life where like people think just because you don't like having access that you're a minimalist. It's just more about just like balance. It's not about one extreme or the other, right?
Decide what happens next.
God, it's so off. What a shot. What the hell did that body just do? Hey, house. Like, there's definitely like that trope where like there's plenty of millennials who do enjoy the idea of tiny homes, but like, just because I don't want like a 3,000 foot square mansion or bigger than that doesn't mean I want to have 1,000 or less like essentially coffin either, right?
You got some sort of plan?
I just killed you. Stop spawning. No. Fucking drone. Did I bring meds? I didn't bring meds. Fuck. I should probably leave, actually. No, leave me alone. Are we good? Yeah, shoot the tank. That's a great distraction. Yeah, it's not like about like if the space is being used, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Just like in the sense of having space for the sake of having space just feels vapid. Like if you're to the point where you're using space just to like have decorative furniture for on ensemble, right? It feels a bit weird or excessive, right? Like, should you even have that room? No. Why? Why do you choose now to reload? Okay, this time let's bring meds.
Won't stop shaking. Must not be a good sign.
Okay. I wonder how low we were. Alright, so we also need payback. There we go. Nice. I still need to watch Brutalist too, actually. It's been on the list for a while now. I need to like just like lock off, like it's like a 3.5 hour movie, right? Just need to block off a 3.5 hour segment of time to go watch it. Mario, I expect Mario, what we're actually gonna see is we're gonna see like the shantytown in Ashen Mesa just control C and control V 4 times.
I hate the surface.
They're gonna like make a new map where they just like take this right here, just copy it and then paste it 4 times in a map and call it done. You wanted a shantytown? Here's your shantytown. I'm not gonna lie. I would genuinely never think they would do this. But if they were willing to give assets or give props and like textures and materials, I would make a map for them in a heartbeat. Now, if they would ever use it, probably not, but if I had the ability to just like, I could probably rip assets, but that just doesn't give you the same thing, right? It always gives you like usually an inferior result. But I would make a map in a heart fucking beat. Oh, John, good fucking point. Oh, they're not killing each other anymore. That's nice. They used to kill each other. Alright, there's a sniper. Man, I'm efficient. You ruined it. I got 2 headshots at long range and you ruined it. What, did he try using the ripped assets? Yeah, I don't think that would work at all. You need the components, not the ripped assets. Are we still needing this? We still need the sniper's actual material, or his sniper rifle. Yeah, it gets kind of technical when you get past that, though. I remember abusing the shit out of that in Tarkov. So, like, Tarkov had free cam. And so, like, when you were zoomed in, so it would zoom in your entire screen, what you could do is you could actually, like, use your free look and essentially see more by not using the scope than you could with the scope. It was super gamey, and they eventually fixed it by essentially doing that, right? But, it was fun for a long time. I don't need... Actually, I'll take your loot, though. I've always just, like, kind of enjoyed that element, Michael. Kit bashing or making maps. What originally got me hooked, this will be a nostalgia trip for some of you. So, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 actually had a map maker, and that's where I got started, and it was so much fucking fun making maps for that game. Give me your sniper rifle. Really? Rude. Yeah, actually, I think I actually played Tony Hawk before Doom, actually. I did eventually play Doom, but I think I was playing Tony Hawk first. Yeah, then eventually Hammer for me. I did mess around with Hammer quite a bit. For Source and then for Go. And, like, let me tell you right now, going from, like, being used to making maps in Hammer to, like, Unreal, it's like, what the fuck? Is this what power feels like? Using Hammer was, like, literally just pain. It wasn't bad when you got used to it, but, like, it's an old engine, or it's an old map, like, it's an old editor, essentially. It's like 20 years old at this point. It literally is actually, considering Source.
Another reason to stay alive.
Oh, we got 2 out of 3 done at least. I do enjoy. Here's the problem. I can't actually say if Hammer is good or not, because A, Hammer is so old for its own good, but, like, it's also nostalgia too, right? I don't think this is working, but we'll pick it up anyway. Let's go over to Shaman, why not? I think you're Ukrainian, right, Michael? But no, like, Half-Life has a lot of longevity, and Counter-Strike has a lot of longevity in the Eastern Europes. There's a pretty big trope in regards to Counter-Strike and having Eastern European teammates. Sikiblat. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but it is what it is.
Life finds a way, even here.
Source 2 was great for that, or sorry, regular Source 2 Source was good for that too, right? So like, I like, honestly, like, peak teenage years for me was definitely like my earlier teens playing Counter-Strike Source. And, all of the custom maps and emoji and like that, right? Like, one of my favorites was the glass break maps back in, Source. So, like, as opposed to killing people conventionally, you would essentially have grenades, and the idea was like you basically break the terrain under them with grenades, and you're essentially trying to be like the last man standing as like the floor basically got knocked out from under you. It was such a cool game mode. And there was plenty more too, right? There was RP servers, there was jailbreak, there's other different like glass breaking maps. There was so many different modes and like mods in Counter-Strike that you could just easily download from the server itself. It was literally like 1,000 different, it was like original fucking Roblox actually. And I hate equating it to that, but in a way it kind of actually was. If you're unfamiliar with Roblox, right? Roblox in a way is a template for people to essentially like create custom games within a setting. And that's essentially what Source was, right? Counter-Strike Source was, or Half-Life was. I hate to admit it, but like that is just a more modern day iteration of that, right? Condition Zero, I might have played it on Xbox forever ago. I can't recall. I mainly played most of my time in Source. I didn't play very much 1.6 or Condition Zero. Yeah, I don't think the single player 1.6 or single player Counter-Strike ever got good like raving reviews. I think it was just dropped pretty quickly. Like, yeah, this is not why people play this game.
Gold from the soft white underbelly. They are sending their best. We don't have much time.
I'd say they. Nice seeing you here again.
Obliteration in walking form approaches.
I'm kind of curious, on an actual, like, much less gamey standpoint. I'm guessing, like, so I'm trying to imagine now a mech walking up. Toothy, no. I'm trying to have a conversation here, Toothy. I'm trying to imagine how, like, an actual mech like this would approach, hey, Nesco, approach a staircase. Would it just create craters by destroying the stairs and making a flat level terrain beneath it? Would it actually require some extra devices on its feet to actually help move up the staircase? Because it naturally, it can't just, like, you know, be like 30, 15 degrees relative to the stairs, right? It would probably fall over at that point. Yeah, I'm not talking about like the actual game implementation, but like if you try to put it into like real life, how would you actually have a mech like that go up the staircase? And I imagine it could probably slam the floor hard enough, like it would actually create a level terrain in it to actually go up and down with. That, or it would have to have like some extra actuators, or like essentially it would need to be able to like deploy its heel to essentially, yeah, self-leveling feet. It would make the feet a lot more complex and probably damageable, but like, yeah, like thinking of the ways of how it would actually work going up a staircase. It could just slam into them and make it like a level terrain for it, but yeah. Could see the feet being adaptable too. Probably. I mean, I could see the case too, game shift, just like how, like, for example, in the winter, you'll throw like sand in the back of your truck. Like, I can easily see, like, for example, people adding weight to their mechs to lower the center of gravity. Are you following me all the way up here? Toothy, what are you doing?
They come for us.
What's going on, man? You want to show me your moves? What's going on? All right, well, bye. Oh man, the movement. Truly law, truly. I mean, that's not design, that's AI, but you know, I digress. Is it Rat King or is it Medium Mech? It's a Medium Mech. Yeah, it's still like an FPS drop in this area. I wonder why. I imagine in most cases, right, if we ever try to make mechs IRL, yeah, like, the sci-fi designs just don't work. And actually, just, we can always just go back to the tanks versus mechs argument, right?
Do not allow
It's real hard to rationalize why the fuck would you ever use a mech when you just have tanks. I mean, I'm sure you could make a mech IRL. Now, would it be a weapons platform or be useful or be anything other than just like clunky as fuck? No, but like I'm sure if a military really saw a practical application for a mech-like system, I'm sure it would exist by now, or at least have been prototyped by now, right? Like, we have literally prototyped railguns. But it turns out that sci-fi isn't always cost-effective or useful. And there's always the issue too of the consideration too of logistics, right? Of what the world is built for, right? For example, one of the big things about the Sherman tank, right, is that its size was appropriate for the cargo vessels to carry it over from America to Europe. So they actually had a tonnage limit on how big the tanks could be, right? In contrast to Germany didn't really care about shipping its tanks off across the seas, so it didn't really care about tonnage all that well. However, you still have to consider roads and infrastructure too, and bridges, right? So when you started thinking of mech platforms and stuff like that, right, if they can't get from point A to point B, they're not very useful. If they don't already work with the confines of our logistics system, like, it's very hard to adopt them. If, say, for example, like, one thing about tanks, right, they do distribute their load over a large area. So they don't, like, for example, when they're crossing roads, create holes in the roads. They will over time, right? Because they do weigh a ton, they will stress the roads and crack the roads. In contrast, though, for like a mech of a similar tonnage, you're putting a lot more of that weight in a small area, and you are probably doing much more damage to a specific area of the road or bridge by actually walking over it, because you're putting that weight over a smaller area. Yeah, that's saying they shred normal roads, right? But like if they already shred normal roads, Ragey, mechs would be worse. I mean, so can tanks. And then you have mud, right? I'm sure you're well versed in mud, Michael. If you're Ukrainian. The good old spring mud. Hey, Jacob. I'll probably start working on the script for the next one this weekend. So that usually puts it about a week away. So I'm not gonna confirm a hard date. I got a lot going on right now, but like, it's in the works. I wouldn't hold your breath for a new one soon, but like, it's in the works. The next video is gonna almost certainly be a unit deep dive or a lore video in regards to a unit. All right. Oh, more than that. There we go. I mean, 100% Michael, they both eat shit, right? Like, but I mean, you will find that, like, yeah, naturally tanks are gonna be bad on regards to like areas like that, but also what's going to be worse is a unit with more center, like, or rather more focused weight in a certain area, right? I would say, like, the main concept my head goes to in regards to things like that is more about, like, uneven terrain, right? As opposed to muddy terrain. Things that are hard for vehicles to traverse, that feet could do a lot better.
Life finds a way.
And then you have, like, you know, center of gravity, and then you also have, for example, profile, and, like, you know, the fact that tanks can go hull down. I mean, you can make mechs go hull down too, right? But like, it's much easier to have a tank go hull down as opposed to a mech. Mech is essentially a dream, right? It's just not practical. And that might not always be the case, right? Like, there is the real use case, for example, for more like industrial, or for example, like backline roles, like artillery or moving supplies. Like, there is a real purpose for exoskeletons, right? And, like, enhancing human strength. Or not, and not even enhancing human strength, but just, like, reducing wear and tear, too, right? Removing the burden upon the human skeleton and, you know, joints. From the few military friends I do have, or people I have known that worked in the military, the one thing that seems to be universal about all of them is that their bodies are torn to shreds, essentially, by only like 4 to 8 year sprints, right? You know, they work in the military for 4 years, but their body's fucked up internally. Because the army does demand a lot from them in regards to their body. So having like exoskeletons being a way of like reducing that would be huge.
They have arrived. We have to win.
How did you come from? You good? Good night, sweet prince. I feel like this is... Does anyone get the sense that this is like an excessive amount of tubes? Like, I feel like this might be a few too many tubes. Just a few too many tubes. Wait, you're the mech messiah? Blood Panda? Huh, curious. If I would have known better, Blood Panda, I would thought you would have said Rat King's the mech messiah. Huh, curious. Very interesting, Blood.
Peace through discovery.
I think we got a heretic on our hands, guys. I don't know, I think that's pretty revisionist of you, Blood Panda. And that almost sounds in a way like you're trying to supplement Rat King. I mean, you were correct. I do not know what is attached to this guy. But does it require this many tubes? So many tubes. Yeah, exactly, lurking AP in regards to like, yeah, mechs is just like, when you think of like all the use cases for mechs, the only areas that you could actually like possibly like rationalize them is industrial in nature, right? And then it becomes a cost factor, right? Like, what can you do? Why would you need a mech and not just a crane? And like, there is a use case for like, you know, smaller loads, and that's exactly what exoskeletons are used for, right? For like actual humans.
Too many footsteps.
And I think the lightweight ones too, like there's currently like lightweight ones, I think, right? They're not even like powered, they're just literally there to provide extra support. Literally just make it easier on your knees. So I can tell you right now, take care of your knees. You'd be surprised on how much you use your knees and how quickly they can go. Especially if you do anything weight related. Hey, stop that. You don't even have a gun on you. Yeah, and like considering like the areas of like you would have industrialized exos would be in industrial areas. Those areas usually have, you know, tracks for cranes and so on and so forth. It, like, what would be the use case to actually have something that doesn't need to be on tracks? And like you could make the case, right, in actual, like, for example, in battlefield scenarios where you don't have like the ability to have static logistics, they have to be more fluid. Yeah, you could probably make the case for an exo, like a mech there, right? Industrial mechs. Like you don't have the time or like ability to have permanent infrastructure like that. That works. So a medium mech, or a mech is more of like a full suit of armor, as opposed to a mech that's like a tank almost, but like 2 feet. An exoskeleton is more of just about enhancing a human's capabilities, right? It's, think of it, well, let me just show that one. Skeleton. This is a good picture, I think. So this is an exoskeleton, right? Hold on, let me go back. Come back here. This is an exoskeleton, right? This is not like a mech. This is just about basically providing an extra kind of exterior framework. Like, or it's basically like an exterior skeleton, right? It is providing a rigid structure with some extra joints here and there, like in your knees, to help provide you with not even extra strength per se, but to kind of take the load off your joints. And there are powered ones too, but it's support. Yeah, it's take the load off your muscles, your joints, your bones, and so on and so forth. For people who are like, you know, doing manual work, right, moving around a lot. And for example, one of the big things is like your knees, right? If you do manual labor and you have to bend down a lot, having a thing like this can save your knees, because your knees will get shot over time. Like you will use up your cartilage and it will become thin, and it will basically be bone on bone, and it will feel miserable. It's arthritis, right, for example. But like, yeah, there's powered versions, there's unpowered versions. Powered ones are more about providing extra strength. This is more about, the passive ones are more about just to, like, you know, providing your, you know, support. Yeah, it's like it's all roads lead back to Elysium. A very mid movie with very cool art and ideas. That could be the case, Lurking, in the sense of, yeah, like they definitely have modified them, but like with what we see with Gunhead Lurking, actually that could track. So the canonical lore with Gunhead is that he was a construction robot first, and then he got converted over to military. That could be the case with the medium mech also, right? The medium mech might have been industrial in nature and got retrofitted for war. It could be, for example, why when we look at Europa, it's all fucking scars. They're like, we need a mech gun for this construction mech. What do? We make bigger gun. We make bigger scar, sorry. Just the general trend though, Blood, is like sci-fi is a pretty small subset in regards to like, generally speaking, with a lot of sci-fi elements, they're not generally too on the nose, and so a lot of audiences don't generally engage with them very well. Like I don't want to say because its audiences are dumb. It's more because audiences don't always want to engage with high level thoughts in regards to their entertainment. Some people are okay going to see like just a lowbrow action movie because they're not looking to get thought provoked, looking for entertainment. And the whole trope about sci-fi, right, is it usually wants to lean heavily more into the grander ideas, right? Looking behind just the scene being presented in front of you. And Dune did a good job, right? Dune did a good job of providing this like giant spectacle in regards to that, but actually providing some stuff behind the scenes too in regards to, you know, broader concepts. What map are we looking for? Sure, why not? Why do you say that, Flip? Are you, well, for like first basis, are you saying the book is bad sci-fi, or are you saying the movies are bad sci-fi? Okay, second question actually then. You say the books, are we referring only to the OG, or are we referring also to the Sun? Orgamechs really are an exoskeleton, because I think Orgamechs kind of almost imply that their carapace is part of the creature itself, which is kind of defeats the purpose of exoskeleton. Okay, so with that in mind, Flip, go ahead and elaborate. We set up the foundation, so he's referring to the books and not the. He is including just the main writer himself, not including the Sun. There's a common understanding that like once the Sun took over, the writing went real bad. But no, go ahead and elaborate. Present your case.
Remember, we keep what we kill.
Wait, what? Water... What did I pick up, actually? Hold on, sorry. Clear skies, water wars. Okay, swamp probing. And actually, there's an element to each their own, but I am curious what your critiques are on Dune. Why you know like? I mean, it's kind of trying to twist that trope on its head, though, right? Like, it is using that trope of the Second Coming, right? Like, the Messiah, right? But, like, it is trying to show you kind of the fallacy of that, right? Like, it's 100% that, like, 100%. It is about, like, you know, a figure coming up and, you know, essentially being this Messiah, if you will. But it's kind of, you know, it's forced, it's a fake fallacy, right? It's a manufactured Second Coming. And it's also like it's about the fallacy of that, right? The fall of that, essentially. The perversions of that, if you will, right? The very greater good and all the sins of the greater good, almost. Now, I didn't bring a drill. I can maybe go find a new one somewhere, but I don't have the ability to get into here, unfortunately. Which locks off clear skies. I mean, if we're gonna call spice a McGuffin, I mean that's fair, but like plenty of narratives use elements like spice to drive plot forward and cause conflict. I mean, like, if spice is McGuffin, that's perfectly fair, but like almost any narrative trope used to progress the story is McGuffin then. Anything used for in regards to like as a tension point for the story is McGuffin. There's a few spots with the drill on this map we can go check for. I will say, like, it's perfectly fair not to like Dune. You're allowed to like not like anything. It's perfectly fair. I'm just more trying to like, you know, understand where you're coming from. I am curious, right? Like, so Dune 1 and 2, right? Dune 1 was a little bit slow in world building. Dune 2 was a more action element. Dune Messiah is like, I am very curious how Villeneuve is going to present Dune Messiah, right? Because, like, it's not dense per se, but it's like just, it's not a lot of action like 2 was, right? The second half of Dune, the Dune book was like, it's for people who were interested in the more sci-fi elements, the action in 2 could carry them over, right? That I would be surprised if that can be the same for the Dune Messiah. I mean, you see no drill. Alright, there's one more spot where a drill could be. Let's go do water horse first, though. I mean, yeah, Avatar was very on the nose, right? And on the nose of like, yeah, colonialism is bad. Like, colonialism is bad, but like you need to empathize by being one of them to understand. I mean, in regards to the spice being unobtainium, by the way, too, I do just feel like that's being like a little harsh on it. It's a narrative device to tell a story and allow for exposition to some degree. And if you don't like that, that's perfectly fair. But I think calling it like, it is a McGuffin, but like McGuffins are a narrative device under this context, right? To progress the story or be a means for conflict, and it does that. That's perfectly fair, yeah. If you don't like the trope of like, you know, if you don't like the base trope of Messiah, right? I can definitely understand that. There are certainly some tropes I'm like, I see a trope and like, yeah, this is. If you really want original items, then Hollywood is hard, right? Not even Hollywood, just anything in general, really. You can usually always see the influence of certain things and certain things. That's perfectly fair. Everyone's got those pet peeves. Like for the exact same reason, right? Like I usually will stay like different media entirely, right? But I will always stay from like JRK RPGs for that exact reason, right? It's just for some reason they just turn me off. That's what it is. Doesn't mean they're bad. Just means it's not for me. Yeah, it's a McGuffin, but like, yeah, it's not a McGuffin just for like it's a. If we're classifying Spice as a McGuffin, like lots of things are McGuffins then. And that's perfectly fair, right? Just a way of describing something. Ooh, why not, Ego? I'm curious. I actually like Denis Villeneuve a lot. I think he has issues with pacing sometimes, but like other than that, they're usually, I think, very well done. If I will say, if you're coming from the more artistic standpoint, if you're looking for highly artsy movies, yeah, Denis is not it, right? He is like a grounded. He does sci-fi in a very grounded but like sci-fi way to make it feel like it's some rendition of the future, not necessarily some surreal thing. So if you're looking for more like surreal like sci-fi, yeah, he misses the mark entirely. And if you're a stickler for pacing, I think he does have issues with pacing his movies, but other than that, I like him a lot. And like, what other director is willing to do sci-fi to such an extent either, too, right? Yeah, it's just a plot device, exactly, game shift. Have I killed 15 yet? I like it. It's like 2049, I liked it, but like it is the prime example of just not being well paced. There are elements of 2049 that kind of drag on and just like it's a good movie overall. I like 2049, but it's like the prime example I would kind of point to that Denis Villeneuve has issues pacing his movies. I don't know what I'm shooting at, but I'm just gonna fire, okay? I've definitely killed 15 at this point. And Ego, that's fair, right? That's like I would feel more of like an aesthetic preference as opposed to like factual, and that's perfectly fine. Like naturally, when you're critiquing medium like that, movies, it's, you know, eye of the beholder. I personally like the grounded kind of sci-fi he does, but if you really prefer much more of the surreal, I can definitely see how he misses the mark there, right?
Rush 'em to dust.
Like, I like the groundedness, but like I can definitely understand too how it falls short for some. And he does have some elements of like that, like for example, some of the spaceships in Dune are like very sort of sci-fi, but you don't see them very often, right? Like the circular one you see in Dune 1. How heavy is the rigs now? Same rigs as before, they haven't changed at all. You still just have like all the way up to like the heavy gunrunner and the pack mule.
Not enough ammo in the world for this.
That's not good. No. I can get one shot. Run, Scav, go, run. Soldier, save me. Oh, hey, look, appropriately sized tanks. Oh, hey, look. Another appropriately sized tank. Oh wait, a kind of, I think, too small medium mech. Wait, a mini tank? What is going on here? Another mini tank, what the hell? Alright, I was looking for a drill still. Oh, the rule of cool, Jacob. I mean, naturally, I think the problem is too, well, I would say right now it's work in progress, Jacob. Let them actually work on the economy a bit and probably the itemization. And we'll probably see a little bit more grounded rigs in regards to the game. They did some change to weight back in like the first or second patch in October of the game. And since then, the weight on rigs and the weight that's been displayed is really weird. Drill? Why are you never here when I need you to be here? There it goes. It's slowly descending. I kind of hope not. I mean, like, they could, but, like, it's definitely a...
Crush 'em to dust.
I would rather just see consequences, like, being more noticeable to being sprint. I would rather them find other drawbacks to sprinting as opposed to just manually restricting sprinting by a stealth bar, or a sprinting bar.
Death dance time.
Because like, I don't think we're trying to be that realistic, right? We're pretty stylized here. But I wouldn't mind, like, once again, having stylized considerations in regards to, like, sprinting or walking. Humans can carry a lot, 100%. Welcome to the hobby of backpacking, where it literally becomes how carry stuff good.
I hope the bastards at home appreciate this.
All right, that's gonna be it for today, everyone. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys again on Monday. I'll probably working on a new script for a new video on Sunday, so it'll probably be like later next week, if not a week after that, until it comes out. But yeah, it's definitely my considerations for now. Have a good weekend. I'll see you guys again on Monday. Take it easy, and bye, everyone.